simplest way to help protect everyone.
I agree, yeah.
Hello and welcome to Poets Know It. We're coming to you live from Cam Erie on West 12th Street in Erie, PA. I want to thank you all for tuning in and sharing. You can share our videos, and sharing is caring. I was thinking the other day, I just had a birthday on the 10th of November, and do you remember back when you were a kid and you would say, "I'm 3.5"? So I think I'm going to bring that back, and like in 6 months, I'm going to be 70.5. So I'm Thasia Ann. I'm ready for us to have some fun tonight, and I will start with a couple. I dug out some Christmas poems only because I won't see you again until after Christmas. So I thought this was a fun way to start that off. Help Wanted by Timothy Tocher. Santa needs new reindeer. The first bunch has grown old. Dasher has arthritis, and Comet hates the cold. Prancer's sick of staring at Dancer's big behind, and Cupid married Blitzer, and Donder lost his mind. Dancer's mad at Vixen for stepping on his toes, and Vixen's being thrown out. She laughed at Rudolph's nose. If you are a reindeer, we hope you will apply. There's just one tricky part. You must know how to fly. Thank you. And this is an older one, and I see that I missed putting the name of the author down. So I'm sorry about that, but it's a beautiful poem, and I'm not the author. Love came down at Christmas. Love all lovely, love divine. Love was born at Christmas, star and angels given the sign. Worship we the Godhead, love incarnate, love divine. Worship we our Jesus, but weareth art for sacred sign. Love shall be a token, love be yours and love be mine. Love to God and all men, love for plea and gift and sign. Then I'm going to follow up the two Christmas poems with something that might seem odd, but I think parents will be able to make the connection. Free kittens. Nothing is free. Kittens and puppies eat, and they need medical attention, which is not cheap. There is the constant threat of fleas, and then if you don't use an expensive preventative, they persevere in your home, the naughty little hungry creatures. That costs more money. If Precious gets injured, they cost more money. They cost time to feed them, time to walk them, time to bathe them. You don't just hand a free puppy as a present to a child, causing complete euphoria because then the yard needs clear to poop, and who's going to be holding the scoop? Please think hard before you bring home that free kitten. All right, I'm going to call up our first poet of the evening. Okay, the second poet of the evening. He always corrects me. Chuck Joy.
Thank you, Thasia. You know how much I love this, and I appreciate you not making me wait. This is great. I have 4 poems for this particular edition, and the first one is a cover as well as some poetry news. This weekend, December 6th and 7th, there's a presentation of selected poems from Spoon River Anthology at PACA, Saturday at 7:30 and Sunday at 2 p.m. 25 poems from this book. I'm going to start with one. All these poems are written by Edgar Lee Masters. This book is written by Edgar Lee Masters. It's from 1915, and over 200 poems, each one titled with the name of and written in the voice of a fictional character who has died and been buried in the cemetery for Spoon River, Illinois. And on this coming weekend, 25 of these fictional characters will speak from their perspective on their own lives. Here's an example. Lyman King. You may think, passerby, that fate is a pitfall outside of yourself, around which you may walk by the use of foresight and wisdom. Thus you believe, viewing the lives of other men as one who in godlike fashion bends over an anthill, seeing how their difficulties could be avoided. But pass on into life. In time, you shall see fate approach you in the shape of your own image in a mirror. Or you shall sit alone by your own hearth, and suddenly the chair by you shall hold a guest, and you shall know the guest and read the authentic message in his eyes. Edgar Lee Masters. Okay, these next two poems are sort of related. Even with everything going on in my life and in the world, this reading continues to be so exciting for me. I'm just thrilled to be here. And I realize part of it is because it's an opportunity to prepare a particular set of poems, but the other is that it's television to me, and that's great. I love it. So in spite of all that excitement, I was invited by Yuyutsu Sharma to bring poetry to an event for Nirala authors in New York City just a week or so ago. And it was a quick trip. I took a train down and came back the next day. And I wrote a poem coincidentally with this trip as I did it. So I'm going to read some of that and then close with a poem. So what I wrote is kind of long, and I don't know what to do with it, so I'm only going to read a little bit of it here, and it's called The Event. A cool neighborhood. This gallery, the only place defaced and maybe for sale. So early, the metal screen still down. You return, and so wonderful. Plate glass front window, bright, colorful interior, walls covered with artworks, a welcoming host, already others you know over the many years. Only a few chairs, no particular place for coats, bathroom right next to the stage, a low table covered with available books, a taller table covered with cloth and snacks, 3 bottles of wine. A long social hour, you making conversation and introductions, one particular poet from Queens, a lively woman from Brooklyn, others known or know their name, not everybody, not nearly everybody, a bit of a crowd, including outside the window, especially not this one big guy, flat on his back on the floor, several times hooting abruptly. A long social hour. Yu opened. Then he called up a poet with another reading, uptown later that same evening. I saw him holding my book, the book that made me Nirala author. This book, said the growling dog. My turn. If Said the Growling Dog had a title poem, this poem would be it. It's called Sidewalk Drama. The dog has confronted me for dreaming about a different pet. A cat, Chuck? He huffed. A cat? Really? Not exactly a cat, I replied sheepishly. A wild cat, a panther. A panther? The dog barked. Woof! A panther can't be a pet. We were at the poetry club. You been there? The poetry club near Wayne Park. The dog had been delighted. The quality of poetry high that night. After one particularly well-nailed poem, the dog hopped around on his hind legs, applauding with his forepaws. Me, I'm a spoken word poet. The complete process includes delivering the lines from a stage, like this stage. You hear the poem in my voice, both of us following along as best we can. One poem included one stanza, the dream about the different pet. Not all the content of my poetry is fiction, crystal vision spun from pure imagination. Sometimes my poetry is journalism, if gracefully phrased, drawn from life. The dream about the different pet is true. When I came off the stage, the dog sniffed. He asked, "May I have a word with you, Chuck?" Now we're standing outside on the sidewalk, the dog staring fixedly away down the street. Finally, the dog produced a cigarette and lit it. "You are unbelievable," he growled. Thank you. Sidewalk drama. And in conclusion, I want to share this publication. This is a pretty new item called Poetry 2025, and it's a member publication for members of the Pennsylvania Poetry Society. I'm a member. You can be too. Yeah, and even a sponsor, I think, Thasia. So I have two in here, and I want to close with this poem of mine from this book. The poem is a two-part poem. It's kind of seasonal. I've probably read it here before because the seasons repeat every year. This is called Beyond Their Horizon. 1. I am present at my desk, my own familiar house, incense burning from a shelf, the radio turned off. A window closed shows frozen snow, bare trees, a lake beyond their horizon. When that lake freezes solid, I will walk across to Canada, my small but not unprecedented black shape emerging from the bleak surround, climbing ashore to an empty beach, my greeting a gull screaming. 2. The road inland, long and sad, a narrow road, veined with tar. Snow-logged fields in both directions. I knock at a cottage. No one answers. Finally, an old truck approaches, slows, stops. Window cranks open. Lyrics spill out. Lava flown in super farmer's direction. The driver, a woman, leans toward me. I explain my accomplishment. When she tells me she's headed for Toronto, I tell her, me too. Dropped off on Bloor, near Spadina. Not sure exactly where I want to go. Everything closed except the farmer's market. By then, it's 5:30, and that's when I wake up. Thank you. Thank you, Thasia.
I like that you mentioned you, because it was through you that I got to meet Yu Sharma. He's a really cool character. So I am going to do two poems that are kind of seasonal. Trees, like birds in flight, fight off the wind. Is it goodness blowing in or death deciding to go? Fall to winter wanders, winter slips to spring. But this was wicked, wild wind, slicing, slapping, clapping, toppling timber to the ground. The sound of air slamming like ram heads together. This wind-swept weather was wildly worrying. Across the street from us is probably a 200-year-old oak tree. And when they were creating the streets, they went along the side and just whacked off all its roots. So I know that if that tree goes, it's going where there's no roots to hold it up, which is my house. So whenever there's a wild storm, I watch that. And this is a newer poem that I was responding to a prompt. The prompt was, I Pray to the Birds. That was on Poetic Medicine. I pray to the birds. I pray to the cardinals, the most reverent of the birds, with their presence indicates lost loved ones with no words. They come in at times of grief. They are a witness and bring relief. I pray to the cardinals. They show me grace, and they're able to erase the tracks from my tears. So next up on the mic, Mary Ellen? Okay, Mary Ellen.
Thank you. It's something hard to see. Oh, it's a little bright, yeah. Hi, everyone. Mary Ellen Dahl-Kemper, and I'm going to follow Chuck's lead and read something also from Spoon River, which I will read this weekend. Oh, jeez, this is sticky. Okay. Russian Sonia. I, born in Weimar, of a French mother and a German father, a most learned professor, orphaned at 14 years, became a dancer known as Russian Sonia, all up and down the boulevards of Paris, mistress betimes of sundry dukes and counts, and later of poor artists and poets. At 40 years passé, I sought New York and met old Patrick Homer on the boat, red-faced and hale, though turned his 60th year, returning after having sold a shipload of cattle in the German city Homburg. He brought me to Spoon River, and we lived here for 20 years, though they thought we were married. This oak tree near me is the favorite haunt of blue jays chattering all the day. And why not? For my very dust is laughing for thinking of the humorous thing called life. Thank you. This time of year gets me thinking about, there's a lot of things that fall together, holidays and celebrations and things. And we just went past Veterans Day. I have a son who's a veteran. My youngest son was in the Navy for 10 years. And so I'm going to read a poem by one of our own, Matt Borzon, who's a veteran of the Afghan War, a nurse. And the name of this is called Snow by Matt Borzon. Sometimes I want the snow to fall forever. Not the Christmas let it snow kind of snow, but the gonna bury everything kind of snow, the bury our dead kind of snow, bury the burned out cars on 12th Street kind of snow. Bury the memories of this last year kind of snow. The bury the hatchet, bury the lead kind of snow. I want enough snow to hide every stone in Arlington National Cemetery. Enough snow so you have no choice but to stay at the bar you are in until the day after the day after the day after tomorrow. Enough snow so the B-52 bombers can't fly over Afghanistan. Enough snow so all the armies go home. Enough snow that all the fires go out and all the polar bears get to go home and hunt and get fat again. Enough snow that you need to lay in a pile of your loved ones to stay warm. This to stay warm kind of snow. Enough snow to close a city, and enough snow to clear the streets so anyone who wants can come out and dance. Thank you. Matt was a nurse in the Afghan war and came home with tragic memories, as did my son, James Razanauskas. Poetry is a way to process these kinds of experiences, and Matt has done a tremendous number of poems and is pretty published. Yeah. He's got about 6 or so. Yeah, he's got lots of books published. He's of some renown here. So I'm going to also read one more. None of these are my own today. I've just been thinking a lot. We are coming up to winter solstice. So I've pulled from the archives a poem by Rumi. I don't know, what century was Rumi in? It's quite a while ago, maybe 3 centuries ago. This is called Sip the Season Darkly, a poem for winter solstice. Darkness has arrived, wrapping its inky cloak across the season of our lives. Long shadows and owls stand tall and salute autumn's bright, slow song, becoming winter's march, asking us not to skip too quickly over the hour with an eager eye, grasping toward the cherry blossoms awaiting on the other side. Drink deeply from the season, they say, from the cup overflowing with the sweetness of the fruitful darkness. Sip the season darkly in its slow inward night embrace. Wisdom hidden from summer's glare may pass our lips should we have the thirst for it, until finally the world becomes too much with us. We go to the cave, the secret one in the mountain of ourselves, seeking stillness, a retreat, and inward looking, and listen for it in our own voice amidst the silence. Can you hear it? Thank you.
22 books is the highest I could find. I think it's higher than that, but he has it. Matt Borzon has at least 22 books published. I think it's higher than that, but that's what I could find on a quick Google search. He is actually a part of my WOW program, and since that came up, I'll just say, mark on your calendars, February 24th at 6 p.m., we will be on the Gannon campus in the Schuster Theater doing WOW. There is no cost to attend. Please come. Your life will be changed. Okay. I'm going to do real quick 2 poems about my oldest son, Mark. The first one I wrote when he was going into a special program. They were taking them in at 17 and letting them do boot camp. And then they'd have to go back to school and graduate, and then they could join. And he brought me the papers, and do I do this? Do I not do this? We were living in Albion, where kids had taken to going to the A+ Mini Mart and threatening each other, holding the gas nozzle and their lighter. And I said, it's time to get my boy out of this town. So I signed the papers and off he went. And this is what came from that. Man-child. This man-child of mine was born, and he slipped into life. I was born. I slid from child to mother, kisser of cuts, scolder of naughty boys, teacher of truths, and believer of beliefs. There is no test to pass, no grade average to achieve. Protect, nurture, throw to the wolves. And how do I know if I did well? When the man-child holds me in the palm of his hand and says, I love you, Mom. My son, Mark. My son, Mark, the odd duck, my kiss-a-luck joy boy. He never marched to another's rhythm, never quite got it right, according to the People's Dictionary. And yet, at 26, when he passed in a car accident, when we held his funeral, hundreds attended, on crutches, in wheelchairs, jeans and sweats. And I understood he was the one who had it right all along. Next up, how about M. Scott? I see you back there.
Hello. They call me Scott Douglas. I'm going to start with what Chuck calls a cover. For those of you who are ex-smokers, we call them OPs. So other people's, that's your favorite brand. Does anybody know who Jason Mott is? He wrote a book called The Departed that was made into a television series called, now I forgot what it was. But anyhow, he got a TV series out of that, and then in 2021 he wrote a book called Hell of a Book, and it won the National Book Award. And in Hell of a Book, he talked about having published 2 poetry books in his younger years. Hide Behind Me is his second poetry book, which I also published his first book. And this one is, he's kind of a comic book buff. So Hide Behind Me is about a young boy who grew up kind of afraid of everything, and he would picture himself as a superhero and what a superhero would do in different situations. This is called Issue 1, Secret Origins. Country house, old, gray, almost a shanty. Short and rotund, the mother works in a small herb garden. Her skin is dark, her hair in a ponytail, her hands dirty. It is Mother's Day. Her son is not at home when the blood vessel in her head falls in on itself. She comes in from the garden, manages to reach the marriage bed that gave her 3 children, children who exist somewhere far, far away. She falls asleep, smiling, not knowing that she is smiling. Through the night, her dreams are wet, red clouds. The next day, her son comes to visit, to talk of himself, like a child, to unearth his old comic books. Forgotten in his boyhood museum called home. Frail, yellowing, slightly decaying, they have not stopped waiting for him. Silver Age X-Men, Golden Age Flash, Bronze Age, this and that. High-quality issues of Captain America. Joe Simon autographed the one far, far in the back of the collection. It is this one the younger man loves most, the one that cost him so much. The seller said that it was only a matter of time before Simon would turn up dead, and death always increases the value of common things. I've been writing quite a bit lately, and especially over the holidays when you're running into, I'm used to living, 600 miles away from my main family, so we don't get together on the holidays as much. But now that I'm here, my ex-wife is the house where everybody gathers. And so here we are. We're calling this poem is called Call It Like It Is. My grandson texted me to know if we were coming to his grandmother's house. I responded back, yes, leaving soon. Then he asked for an ETA for a drive he's made 100 times himself. I was walking the dog in the snow, slipping and sliding on an icy road, but stopped long enough to text, "We'll be there when we get there." To which he answered, "Smart ass." If my father were here, he'd say, "It's better to be a smart ass than a dumbass." But what about my grandfather? What if I called him a smart ass? I posed that question to my ex-wife for my grandson's benefit. She said, "He would have nailed you to the wall." But that's not exactly true. I was my grandfather's favorite grandson. If it was someone else, maybe. More likely he would have coughed or snorted, displayed that fierce John Victor glare, clamber out of his chair loudly and stomp across the room for a bottle of bourbon and a glass. My grandson and I drink whiskey together and laugh at each other's insults. But the smartass in me still wonders what John Victor would have done, what he would think of our antics. When I lived here before, I used to do some kind of unpopular things. This is called better than unemployment compensation. It's a miracle of sorts to find yourself here among the fans of the Erie Blades as they close out their playoff debut. You hadn't seen them play all year, but here you are, center ice against the glass, when lo and behold, the empty seat beside you is filled by the owner of the hockey club, a man you remember well for firing you from a job years ago, the day after your son was born, a man who fought against your unemployment compensation. You nudge your friend Terry on the other side, who also owned unemployment to him, and wonder if this gasbag already recognized you as he climbed in without comment or eye contact. Here was a guy who enjoyed berating others, the reason why you started a union in his shop. Was he pretending the people parked between him and the bench were strangers? You and Terry exchange snide remarks, curse his name loudly and often, trying to provoke him, but he ignores you. Finally, an opportunity presents itself. The Blades score and everyone jumps up, cheering and clapping. And amid this chaos, this crowd commotion, you spill a cup of beer on the lap of your nearest neighbor. A one-timer, the shot of a lifetime you'll never forget. Thank you.
I was at a concert once, and there was a very inebriated woman with a full glass of beer beside me, and she kept doing this until I eventually wore it all on my sleeve. Not a good experience. All right, I see Greg Brown way in the back. Come on down and get up front.
Thank you, Thasia. This month I have a theme of pickup trucks and dogs. This first poem is called Between Grief and Nothing, January 31st, 2021. When that great being, existence, offers a chance to know someone, offers a companion, offers a soul, like a garden to tend, like the warmth that soothes a child on a cold night after a storm, say yes. Just say yes. And when that great being offers you pain like a nail hidden in the grass, a thorn within joy, a splinter, a jagged shard of glass, the swift cut of sudden grief, a surprise, but no secret, openly offered, say yes. Just say yes. And that poem was for my dog, Sarge, who died kind of suddenly in my very arms, and and I wouldn't trade it for the world. This poem's called Detachment. There is dignity in old trucks, in the way they age, in the way utility conquers vanity, in the names they come by honestly, with damage and wear distinguished. There is dignity in old trucks, in the twisted bumper you did not fix, attached to which the rubber valance you replaced twice, in the days long gone when you took every scratch personally. There is a story behind the rear fender's crease, the first damage you did not fix, and in holes you made yourself for tools and attachments you no longer use, and in the disregard with which you'll drill the next holes. And consider and forget the cigarette burns your buddy left on a fishing trip. There is dignity in the way you drive it over red, rutted clay, as slick as owls' scat, and push through brush and briars with it, the thorns and dry branches shrieking beside and beneath, exchanging sap for paint, and your brother, whose new four-wheel drive sits at home, turns his grinning face to yours and says, "It'll buff out." It's an old phrase, but it's been a long time since anyone said it. There's even dignity in the way you get stuck crossing the spillway of the pond and carelessly savage your gears to dig those rear wheels out. And there's dignity in the way when, wind caught, the iron gate pulls loose from your brother's grasp and craters your other fender. There is grace in the way a harsh word dies as you look into the shock of his face and say, "It'll buff out." And my last poem is titled Ode, or Something is Rotten. What can I say but some things go together, like dogs and pickup trucks, or stink on a dead fish, rotting on the beach, and by the law that like attracts like, and each gathers to each, sometimes these things combine in such a way that will take you weeks to get out of your seats, an unholy stench so assaulting to all senses, so unbearably tenacious and ripe, that you wish you could dip the whole thing into bleach, the truck, the dog, and yourself. But he's such a lovely color, browns and blacks, like the grain of walnut. And it's the truth, moreover, that every blessed day that we're given to walk the town there on the ground will be a moment of inattention and a new pile of filth into which my dog will roll. And so this is my ode, or some other sort of poem, for my nasty dog. Thank you.
I don't have any of my dog poems with me tonight. I have this one dug out. This was published in an anthology done by Diane Borznek in Cleveland, and the anthology was called Delirious, a Tribute to Prince. And my oldest son and I used to dance to Prince and be silly all through the living room. Psychedelic beret, frozen in time, 8-track sound, racked in pain, skipped record refrain. Purple Rain. And 1999, the year that my eldest son died and beat Prince to heaven. I would die for you. Delirious, you got the look, and I had to stay behind and live with the kaleidoscope of sounds. Gary, I think you're up. Are you coming up, Gary? And we don't care if you read the phone book.
If they knew, just as I bent down, clapped loudly my hands and shouting, "Go! Get out of here!" 3 teenagers came around the corner. I felt self-conscious, embarrassed, as they stared at me. I heard one of the girls say something to the others as she pointed at the bird fluttering its wings and stumbling through the grass. The boys shouted, "Hey, old man, leave it alone!" One of the girls screamed, "Asshole!" The other yelled, "How would you like it if somebody picked on you like that?" I was glad they were in a hurry. I let the bird rest for a couple of minutes, then tried to scare it again. This time it took off and landed in a nearby tree. Relieved, I continued my walk. When I reached the corner, I looked back. The cat had returned. Suffering simple. Kevin was a simple man. After work, he loved to go fishing and hunting. Mostly, he liked the quiet of the woods. He never owned a suit until he got married. And after he outgrew it, he joked with his wife about not needing another one until it was time for her to go casket shopping. He didn't know then that he would buy his next suit for the funeral of his only son. His son, Travis, was late growing up, but early in trouble with his teachers, with the law, and of course, with his dad. But Travis was Kevin's life. By the time Travis was 23, he was still living at home and still paying off fines. But eventually, he graduated with a degree in electricity and started his first real job. Late for work again, he swerved in and out of pre-dawn traffic, trying to make up for a few minutes of extra sleep. When he reached into his pocket to answer his girlfriend's morning call, he drifted off the highway far enough to rear-end a parked tractor trailer. Years passed before Kevin could go through a day without aching from the loss of his son, before he could enjoy hunting again without Travis, before he could look forward to celebrations of life with family and friends. So then, when his nephew Mark asked him to be the best man at his wedding, Kevin happily accepted. No one at the ceremony who couldn't read his mind or the lines on his face knew that Kevin's tears were not tears of wedding happiness. He was in his funeral suit, and his mind was in another place. Next.
Thank you, Gary. I'm doing the look and I see, is there anyone else out there with the need to read? Oh, wait, Jordan, come on up.
Thank you, Thasia. I'm excited to be back again, excited to hear everyone's voices tonight. I love the poetry. I want to do a quick announcement that I launched an Instagram, Facebook, and I'll be launching a TikTok tonight for Erie Slam. So I'm hoping to get some slam shows going in 2026, and if you're interested, please follow along there. This slam poem I have is one that's like 15 years old. Over Thanksgiving, I got together with my sisters, and we were watching old films that we used to sing along to growing up. And I think just the old movie click got me on this one. How many of you have seen Star Wars? Now, every time I do this poem, there's another Star Wars movie, but I'm talking about the original one. The one where the hero, Luke Skywalker, blows up the Death Star. It's a spaceship the size of the moon, and all the people on board, the Imperial stormtroopers, the maintenance workers, and their families are shredded in the vast explosion. I'm sure many of you have watched Star Wars, but how many of you have really seen it? Luke Skywalker is a young man on a suicide mission. One day, he's screaming in the ashes of his family. The next day, he's joined the rebel forces, and today, we call this blowback. There are very important people who have very expensive teeth. They sit in front of television cameras and debate whether blowback exists, but I think anyone with ears to hear should understand this. People who find their families butchered are going to be pissed. And we have spent decades leaving loved ones behind for families and the flies to find, yet somehow continue to insist that if we ever talk about it, we will use the term collateral damage to describe the children mutilated by war. Yet somehow after all this time, we are surprised that someone might find we've committed crimes that we must answer for. Skywalker lost 2 people, and in return, he killed millions, maybe billions. However many it takes to make a spaceship the size of a moon run smoothly. And he never knew if any of them really wanted to work there, and maybe he didn't care, but to be fair, their boss was a butcher. He blew up planets on behalf of the Empire, so I doubt that his employees were ever allowed to retire or suffer anything as simple as simply being fired. And maybe the only reason they had applied to be hired was they had a family to feed. And the only way they could see to get them what they need was to shut up, cross their fingers, and get a job making lasers and lightsabers and praying to their god that Vader would vent his anger on some other slob. But then again, maybe not. Maybe they never thought about it at all. They just went to work when called and shopped at the Death Star Mall, and by never really thinking at all, they managed to keep their heads tall. You can imagine them, right? Saying, we're the good guys, and we're just trying to get by, and we're just trying to live our lives, and we cannot imagine why anybody would want us to die, but maybe much like you and I, they could not be bothered. There are photos, testimony, and videos of the slaughter of Vietnamese and Middle Eastern sons and daughters, yet when their sisters and fathers are willing to start killing, we cannot understand why. I ask, have you seen Star Wars? Because it's like we wash our minds and our eyes are blind. Because if the guy who is ready to die has blonde hair and blue eyes, that blowback becomes the biggest movie franchise of all time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Is there anyone else out there with the need to read, want to bring another piece up? I'm going to read Train Station. From our first cry on a cold, sterile delivery room table to the last deep inhale, we are all on a long, dark train. We stop and get off, stretch our legs, get back on, hoping for a better destination. We stop to enjoy a little life here and a lot of life there, always aware that we are still on board. At points in time, the engine is dragging us up mountain passes with those giant driving wheels slipping and sliding to stay on track. And other times, we train our eyes on the trestle during the tight and terrifying turns. The locomotive provides motivation to forward motion. And until that day when your engine puffs and steams you toward the big station in the sky. Thank you. So if there's no one else with the need to read, I think we're going to wind it down. I do have something in here with the date. January 7th will be our next Poets Know It, right here, same time, same channel. We thank you all for tuning in and sharing and being a part of our audience and reading. And we invite you, if you're out there and you think this looks pretty cool, or if any of our poets invite people, you can come and sit and not have to read the first couple times. Get your feet wet, see if you like the feel of the place. Everybody's so welcoming here. So please think about tuning in or chiming in and coming to Poets Know It in January on the 7th. And until then, this is Thasia Ann, and we are out.